welcome to another industry update. We're going to try to do these weekly, so let us know your thoughts about this and anything you want to see in the comments down below. We got an interesting story for you today about Markforged going public on the New York Stock Exchange. Now, it hasn't happened yet. It's not live yet. Soon. But this is interesting because the publicly traded 3D printing sector has been pretty much controlled by 3D Systems, Stratasys, X1, kind of Organovo there in there too. Recently we had Proto Labs join in, but it has been incredibly volatile. I guess before we get too deep into this, I am not a financial expert. This is not financial advice. You should know better by now. I can give you advice on what 3D printer to purchase. It's going to be something from Joseph Prusa. I mean, to give you guys an idea, I can bring up Stratasys, which is SYSS. Their stock ticker hasn't been doing great. Okay, and we see Stratasys down 12% in the past month. We look at 6 months, they're actually doing okay. Good on them for that. If we look at DDD, which is 3D Systems, they are also down in the month about 7%. Good news for one company seems to equal good news for all of them, and subsequently, bad news for one equals bad news for both. And this is kind of the problem that you get when you have industries that are very, very, finite, which is probably not the right word, but there's not very many of them on publicly traded forums. And so when one of them does really good, it brings the entire industry up. Before we get too far into this article, let's talk about why Markforged and why now. So first off, Markforged. They are a company that is best known for their continuous carbon fiber. That's what they do. They take filament, they inject carbon fiber into it, like literally a strand of carbon fiber. And that carbon fiber makes it incredibly stiff, incredibly strong at a price, of course. Markforged, their Mark II is about $15,000 and their X7 runs about $60,000. And so just to get your continuous carbon fiber, you need to spend about $15,000, and your wall thickness needs to be a minimum of 3 millimeters to get that continuous carbon fiber. Markforged started as a startup, right? They're a little tiny company, and they've grown incredibly fast under this patent of continuous carbon fiber, which is amazing. I've held Markforged parts. I can tell you they're worth it. And if you want to get a part from Markforged machine, let us know in the comments down below. We are trying to build a business case to buy one of these machines. And if we have enough of you saying, hell yeah, I'd buy parts, then, well, maybe we'll get one here at 3D Musketeers so you guys can play around with it. And of course, if you mention this video, we'll make sure to hook you up a bit on the price. They've only been around for, 8 years now? Markforged now has a valuation of $2.1 billion with this special purpose acquisition company way that they're going to market under the stock ticker MKFG, something to be aware of. But $2.1 billion valuation for a company that's only 8 years old, damn, that's pretty great, and I can't be happier for them. This is phenomenal. They have over 10,000 facilities across 70 countries with 3D printers from Markforged in them, and 10 million parts. $70 million in 2020, and they're getting a $2.1 billion valuation is pretty good. Normally businesses are defined by 3 to 5 times their earnings. So we look at their last year's earnings, $70 million. Now that's revenue. I would want to know the net on that. That's likely a gross revenue. I would like to know the net. But a gross of $70 million with a valuation of $2.1 billion, that's right there. I mean, that's 3 times earnings. So definitely can't fault them for that. And quite frankly, I think if they were looking to get functionally acquired instead of having an IPO, they could probably get more than $2.1 billion out of it. Shaya Tarem, president and CEO of Markforged, says, "Our mission and vision are to reinvent manufacturing by bringing the power and agility of connected software to the world of industrial manufacturing. Today is a pivotal milestone as we progress toward making that vision a reality." First off, phenomenal quote, right? But this means that Markforged is going to change. When you become publicly traded, you have a fiduciary duty to your shareholders. And so you go from a company that is, willing to do certain things here and there to a company that does not. Because, if they give discounts, if they don't raise their prices, the shares of their company will not have as much worth as they did previously. That's not good for business. And if your fiduciary duty is first to your shareholders than it is to your customers, you've got a bit of a problem here. And so we, full disclosure, own a 3D Systems machine, so it would be a competitor of Markforged. Not so much in the continuous carbon fiber, because of course that's a Markforged product, but professional industrial grade 3D printers. And the only way that we were ever able to get service on those machines is to buy shares of 3D Systems and say, we're shareholders, come help us fix this $90,000 3D printer because I'm losing my business. And that's not an easy thing to go through, but it's part of the game. So if you own a Markforged printer, I might be watching that IPO, because things are going to change. Whether they change for the better or the worse is to be seen. I'm hoping that Markforged will, not be a 3D Systems or a Stratasys about it. Chances are there are going to be some lackluster changes that people aren't going to like. And Markforged has done amazing things in this industry. You look at the aerospace industry, they dominate that industry. Because with their Onyx, which is just the chopped carbon fiber nylon that you can get from basically any reasonably decent manufacturer, Atomic and 3D Tech are the first two that come to mind that make carbon fiber nylon. They can also put continuous carbon fiber inside of that. So you get a high impact, high strength carbon fiber nylon with continuous carbon fiber. You're building a system that is hardcore strong at a price, of course. But when you're looking at an aerospace company, they're not too concerned about price. They're concerned about mission critical safety. And so as we as 3D Musketeers continue to push into the aerospace industry, these machines will be ones that are going to be on our watch list. It looks like the transaction will raise Markforged's value above $2 billion, while also providing $425 million in gross proceeds to the company, assuming no redemptions by one shareholders, including a $210 million PIPE at $10 per share from investors, including the Baron Capital Group, funds and accounts accounts managed by BlackRock, Miller Value Partners, Wasatak Global Investors, and Wellington Management, as well as commitments from M12, Microsoft's venture fund, and Porsche Automobile Holdings SE, existing Markforged shareholders. Something to know about that, we've already got existing shareholders from Microsoft and Porsche. Something to note, Porsche specifically, come on, carbon fiber, that's in their blood. So for them to be able to have shares inside of Markforged is pretty amazing. Current Markforged shareholders are expected to hold approximately 78% of the issued and outstanding shares of common stock immediately following the closing. The transaction, which has been unanimously approved by the board of directors of both Markforged and One, is expected to close in the summer of 2021, subject to the approval of both One and Markforged stockholders and regulatory approvals, as well as other customary closing conditions. We're going to definitely be keeping an eye on Markforged. If you are looking to get a Markforged printer, now is probably the time to be looking at buying it. Their prices are likely going to go up with this acquisition because, again, they are looking to keep their shareholders happy. The price of their consumables is likely going up as well, but until someone comes out with a good solution to beating the price of Markforged, I don't think you're going to see a resolution for that soon. But it means it's probably in the pipes, right? You can make your own materials. Carbon fiber nylon is cheap and ubiquitous. It's $80 a kilo from not from Markforged. Jesus, it's like $300 or $400 a kilo from Markforged, but it's $80 a kilo from like 3D Tech and others. And the spool of carbon fiber filament, I'm sure, can be sourced from places. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to current Markforged users, what their resellers do. 3D Musketeers is not a reseller. We have no skin in this game. I might be buying a share or two just for the hell of it, but realistically, 3D Musketeers has no kind of horse in this race. But nonetheless, this is a really interesting update. Thank you to TCT Mag for making this really awesome article on it. We will have links to this article down in the description down below. We hope that you guys have had a great day. Don't forget to call your loved ones. And as always, keep making awesome. Have a good one.